Anzalone is actually a great name.
Sam Zalone.
Sam Zalone. Bobby in Los Altos. What's up, Bobby? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I want to comment on the Devers. Actually, I really appreciated the 8 o'clock conversation. So I want to start with this. Ideal world or dream scenarios or whatever that bit you called it. It was amazing. Spadoni, you are my brother from another mother, because in my dream scenario, I also had Jokic being implicated for horse racing in Serbia. So it was amazing that you said the same thing. But I had Shea and Luka not being able to play next year because of something with Trump and ICE.
Oh, my God.
Jesus.
Bobby, you're trying to get me canceled.
No, brother. Look, you have Shea, and you had Shea injured for I did no injury upon them. I had external circumstances. You wished undisclosed
no, but hold on. But come on, a bone bruise you can recover from. That's like the one that's like the lesser of all the majors, right?
Wemby, you had undisclosed injury.
Well, no, it was undisclosed reasons. We don't know what's going on with Wemby. He's in parts unknown.
Don't forget a season-long bone bruise.
Okay. Anyway, that was a fun bit.
I appreciate it.
And then sorry, man. That guy Dundon, that cheap ass that owns the Carolina Panthers or Hurricanes. I cannot have that guy win the Stanley Cup. I mean, if all is good in sports, do not let a guy like that win, because then you're going to give the mayor's brother thoughts about how he's justified in being such a terrible owner for the A's. And then I think it's because I'm an old man. Look, Curry and LeBron, yes, please. You got the rest of your life to rebuild and take advantage of being terrible. So I would love that opportunity. But again, I think it's because it's an old man. I think you keep Devers. Unless you get some great pitching prospects and rebuild the team in the way that I want them to, I think you keep him. Look, he's a great hitter. You don't just forget how to hit. It is inexplicable, of course, at the beginning of the season when he looked lost at the plate. No one knows what was going on there, but the team hit very well in May. The record may reflect it, but they offensively hit very well in May. Side note, I'm super happy for Jung-Hoo Lee. I'm always rooting for that guy. But I don't believe you just forget how to hit. He needs to change his mindset, of course, but you don't throw away an investment like Devers just because you had a couple bad months. Again, unless you have pitching. It's just crazy to me to think that an 8-year investment, and I realize the back end of that probably isn't considered an investment, but just because we had a terrible start to the season, we probably won't make the playoffs, doesn't mean you just do a salary dump on him. Again, I wouldn't switch him out for another hitter unless you get pitching prospects. You keep Devers. He's going to figure it out. I think they're going to play a lot better. They may not make the playoffs, but they'll show a little bit more. I personally want them to rebuild the team based upon small ball and pitching, but that probably ain't going to happen. And that's my thoughts. I get it. We're going to maybe dump some players, but you just don't give up on a guy like Devers because of a bad April, March and April. So that's about it. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Appreciate listening to you guys.
You're the best. Thanks, Bobby. That was a great call. And I think a lot of Giants fans are in agreement with Bobby and with you. And listen, I'm not ready to move off Raffy Devers either. I think most people are ready to move off either Chapman or Adames, just given what they've been in their careers. But Raffy Devers has been in his career as one of the elite hitters in all of baseball. Like, he's been that.
Look, this is going to sound insane. I'm going to sound like an absolute madman. But I don't think they have enough pitching for this year at all.
No.
And I don't think this is even realistic. But you could win 6 or 7 in a row, right?
Sure.
And then be around 500 the rest of the year, and it doesn't look as bad.
That's absolutely within the realm of possibility.
Right? And again, do I think that can happen? Probably not. But again, I'm just stuff can happen. You just never know. They maybe we think they're a 95 loss team and they lose 88. And they go on a nice little run and go a little over or around 500 the last. I'm just saying. And then if you do move one of these guys, and now Bryce is fully established, Casey has a monster year. It's his coming out party. You've got a spot for him in the everyday lineup. You figure out that Jung-Hoo Lee is a legitimate, quality starter in Major League Baseball. Maybe Bader's gone, Arise is gone, Robbie Ray's gone. You've replenished some of your pitching that you need. Carson Whisenhunt comes up and shows a little flash. You know, Randy Rodriguez starts showing he's going to come back from that elbow injury and be ready to pitch next year, as well as maybe Birdsong. Like, again, I'm not here to say that they're going to compete for the division or even a wild card next year, but maybe it's way more optimistic at the end of this year and they finish strong. And we're not a dumpster fire heading into the offseason.
That is absolutely allowed to happen. We've seen that in the past. We've seen this team have a really strong September. We've seen players finish on high notes in the last month. But the conversation always ends up being during those offseasons, Joe, is, well, wouldn't it have been better to maybe just lose more games and actually accept the reality of you're closer to being that team at this first half of the season that lost in contention?
But you don't get a draft pick.
It's true.
So, like, you're not getting a top 10 draft pick.
It's like the NFL.
No, sorry to cut you off. I guess the only counter I'd have, Shaz, to your point is, like, if they do finish strong and stuff like that, what's that do for them for next year?
It means nothing. I just think overall there would be a lot of quality players having really good seasons, and that's all I want. I want guys to feel good about themselves.
I hear you on that one. My only concern is that a strong season occurs in a way that makes them think, oh, this group actually does have something in them. Let's try it again next year. And maybe they just got off to a slow start. Let's bring this group back next year, and maybe we can, build off of that strong finish. And then we've seen this movie so many times. We know how that goes.
But I think what I would say is, like, they learned their lesson from Tyler Fitzgerald. 3 weeks is not a season.
Yeah.
2 or 3 months is much more, desirable.
Right.
Ryan Walker on line 2.
Buster Olney joined Willard and Grandy in for
interview.
Gibbs. Earlier this week, obviously, longtime insider reporter, baseball guy for ESPN. This is what he had to say on what it would take to unload Devers' contract.
It would be ugly. I mean, first off, you would definitely have to eat a lot of money. You might have to take a bad contract in return. To get a team even interested in it, you might have to give up some prospect value. I mean, at this point, and then I'm just going on feedback that I'm hearing from other teams where they're like, man, they're stuck with those guys. They feel like that unless the Giants basically are willing to make a bad trade, that they're probably going to be stuck with these guys, and they just have to hope that they start playing better. It's not an easy roster to turn around, that's for sure.
And he was also asked on if the Giants regret the Raffy Devers trade.
Wow. No, I don't think you do, because I think he actually, as we sit here today, I'm not confident that Willy Adames is going to be able to come back and be the same player he was with the Brewers. I don't know if Matt Chapman's going to come back and have another big year offensively. I do think Rafael Devers is going to hit. And he's demonstrated that not only in past years, but also in this recent run. And as if you're in Buster Posey's shoes, you're looking for a foundational, some kind of foundation at this point. You're looking for things that you can bank on. They've got plenty of cash. We know that with the Giants. The question is, how do you build on top of that? And I feel pretty good that Devers is going to perform well. And here's the bottom line. We don't have any indication that the Giants necessarily were going to unlock a pitcher like Kyle Harrison the way that the Brewers have. The Brewers have made an art of this. They and the Tampa Bay Rays, the Cleveland Guardians, are considered to be 3 teams that are really good at getting pitchers and getting the best out of them. So even if they had not made that trade, we don't know if Kyle Harrison would have been good for the Giants.
I still love his opening response, wow, when asked if they regret the trade. And I think he said it best there. Like, I'm not banking on Adames and Chapman to, have career offensive years again, but I will bet on Raffy Devers, the hitter. Now, as the body goes and as, you get the other side of 30, people break down all the time. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm not going to doubt the quality of the at-bat with this guy going forward. That being said, Joe, you should bring up, he does feel like he strikes out a lot more than I thought he was, or thought he was going to anyways, than when I saw him in Boston. And maybe he was a high strikeout guy there, and I ignored it because of the team's success overall. But I do feel like whenever I watch this guy, he's good for like a couple strikeouts a game, at least one. Because I look at the box score every single day. And that's what I see is strikeout, strikeout, strikeout.
Look, you're going to call me the old man here, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. I'm not saying that pitching isn't the most difficult it's ever been. Guys' repertoires and velo and spin rate, and there's so much that goes into deception is at an all-time high. All these things are at like the cutting edge of where we've been with pitching. But I think we've regressed in terms of hitting philosophies. I really do.
Wow.
And I think, what?
That's pretty. No, that was Buster Olney. They cut it. That was good.
And what I'm saying is that this all or nothing approach at the plate is disastrous. I will never accept a strikeout being a good at bat. Now, if it's a 13 or 14 pitch at bat and you happen to strike out after fouling off a bunch, hey, that happens. And I'm not saying that you can't strike out. You're going to strike out. It's part of the game. You get deceived. Where I get bugged out is that I see zero adjustments. And I don't mean at bat to at bat. I don't even mean game to game. I'm talking about within the at bat based on what am I looking for on this pitch. You know, on defense, right? If there's a runner at first and third and it's an 0-0 count, we have specific things set up because you might bunt with less than 2 strikes. You might steal if there's a certain amount of outs or a certain count or whatever it might be. And so my defense might be corners in. I might have double play back. Hey, what if that's the game-winning run at third? I might have the infield in, right? The defense will shift. Will the pitching philosophy shift pitch to pitch, right? Yes, if it's bases loaded and it's a 3-2 count, the last thing I want to do is put you on base for free, okay? If the game-winning run's at third, I'm not going to skip a ball 6 feet out of the batter's box, hoping you to chase, knowing that might just walk the guy home on a wild pitch. Yeah. And so I see all of these adjustments on defense and pitching and catching, and yet my hitters don't adjust at all. And when I'm in a 2-0 count, I have now earned the right, depending on what the situation is, to swing out of my shoes. What I'm seeing just too much in the game overall is too many, I'm swinging out of my shoes regardless of count, regardless of situation, regardless of where the runners are, if I'm seeing it well. I don't see guys getting wide, choking up, just trying to put a ball in play. And it drives me bananas. And so as we talk about strikeouts, the strikeouts for me, as just an old school baseball fan, whether it's Will Clark talking about it, Matt Williams talking about it, whether it's Dustin Pedroia who's talked about it, Albert Pujols talking about it, or Joe Shasky. Like, to me, it's just, I don't understand why there are no adjustments made by a bulk of the hitters in the league right now. And it is driving me insane.
Well, you got to think that some of these guys, I know the egos are huge with any of these athletes, especially at the money they're making. But when they have like the best contact hitter of one of them in baseball, and Luis Arciá, who's been that for a long time.
Why did he sit? So no, I'm glad you brought that up.
Why aren't they asking him questions?
Why didn't baseball give him a contract? Why did he sit until a month before the season started and signed a 1-year deal?
There's a couple things. Power being one of them.
Okay, what?
Doesn't have elite power.
So if
doesn't have a good glove last year anyways.
Okay, but if you have elite power but you don't put the ball in play, if you have elite power but you strike out a lot, if you have elite power but it only shows up when your team is up 8-1 or down 8-1, how does that like raw home runs is just how we measure every player now?
Unfortunately, it feels that way.
But that's my point.
Home runs and walks.
This is my point.
Yeah.
Front offices need to incentivize the right things. So
didn't they try to do that with like banning the shift though? They try to do that, right?
That was the league.
That
wasn't the teams.
No, I understand the league's trying to do that, but the teams are still going to do what they want to do to build these teams around, right? It doesn't seem like they're valuing, even with the banning the shift,
and I just
players
don't
like
Arciá. I just don't. This is why Craig Brazelow is going to be out of a job. You can't homogenize every player, you know. And it's funny, Craig played. I'm blown away that Craig Brazelow couldn't figure this out. Like, you played. Like, putting the ball in play. Okay, on a strikeout, no one touches it but pitcher and catcher.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
A ball in play, you got to cleanly field it. You got to throw over to first. He's got to cleanly field. You got to make a good throw. A lot of things got to happen, right? And
there's more room for error.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And like, I think the Rays are a good example. I think the Milwaukee Brewers are a good example. Exit velocity, and John Miller used to always say, that was hit 112 miles an hour. Yeah, but if it was hit right at someone, like, yes, it's a good at-bat, but it's still an out. A blooper is a hit. It's all the same in the box score, right? And so You got to hit them where they're not. And there's an art to being able to backhand a ball and flip it over the shortstop's head if you're a lefty and go the other way. And so I watched guys like Ichiro and Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs, who was referenced earlier, and now Luis Arciá, and they're all very, very, very different from each other. Those guys have tremendous value. Brett Butler was the king of squaring up to bunt, sucking a first baseman and a third baseman in, pulling it back and chopping one and getting on base and causing havoc. I watched Juan Pierre cause havoc in a 5-game series against the Giants, and it completely flustered them. When I think of that Marlins series in 2003, Sam, what's the name that you think of?
In 2003, that Marlins series?
Juan Perez.
Juan Pierre Perez.
Excuse me, Juan Pierre. Juan Perez.
I mean, there's a lot of other names. I think. Sorry, that 03 series triggers me. There's a lot of names that come up.
He was a pest, was he not?
No, honestly, a lot of the stuff you're saying, like it's
Luis Castillo.
You're completely on point. Matt Williams was kind of talking about this yesterday, but I think he said like it's just the way the game is trending these days.
It drives me nuts.
It's incredibly frustrating. I don't know what the solve is though, Joe, because like the league has kind of been telling you, and I'm not saying this to disagree with you, is saying it's just like they clearly think this is just the way now. It's not fun, but it is.
Yeah, but I would argue with you, actually, I think the smarter teams have realized it's not the way. The Brewers, the Rays, with significantly smaller payrolls, winning. Who's winning in the AL East right now? Give me the
Rays.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays last year, I think, are the best example.
They are. And who did they not bring back?
Oh, the Blue Jays?
Yeah. Bo Bichette.
Who
can't play defense.
Nope.